Welcome, friends and family, to another episode of the Backdoor Cut Show. Thanks for listening to us on the Backdoor Cut Show on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are listening to your podcast, and also on Dash Radio's Nothing But Net channel. Thanks for tuning in tonight. You got me, Zach. With me, I have Rich, Mason, and Sam. Rich, we'll go in clockwise. No, wait, that's clockwise. Hadn't used that term in a very long time to introduce each other. Rich, how you doing, man?
Yeah, what's up, man? What's up, everybody? I'm doing well, man. Can't complain. Still working from home, of course. Actually start a new gig tomorrow, so looking forward to that in the AM. But yeah, just closer and closer to basketball coming, so closer and closer to having something to fucking watch. Looking forward to it.
I turned on MLS is back this weekend. No, just two Canadian teams. It was Montreal and Toronto were playing, but I'm like, oh, there's just sports on. I have to turn this on.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
The Premier League,
Mason, how you doing?
the Premier League's been playing, man. Like they had the Champions League's going on, and like the Premier League finished out its season. Liverpool won, and those guys never stopped. And I heard that they actually didn't even do a bubble. They just tested their guys a lot, and then let them do their own thing separately, so that it just worked out. So that's gives me confidence that the NBA season's going to finish.
All depends on the personal decisions, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose so. Mason, what's up?
I've been waking up at 5 a.m. to watch Tiger Woods suck it up in the Memorial tournament this weekend, but good to see Tiger back on the links. Still yet to decide if he's coming to play in Memphis in 2 weeks. Decision by this Friday, so we'll know if Tiger is coming to the first ever golf tournament that Memphians can attend, which would be fitting for the wait for Tiger and Memphis' sports luck. A few things I want to hit on before we get into the bubble and all that. RIP Lorenzen Wright. Today is the 10-year mark. I don't want to say anniversary in which he passed away. Obviously, Cher Wright is serving time in prison, sentenced to 30 years, eligible for parole in 2028 for facilitating his murder. Then I also want to say rest in peace to C.T. Vivian and John Lewis, two huge, kind of unheralded, in many cases, leaders of the civil rights movement, and they were actually very close to home, based in Nashville for a while.
Fisk University graduate, Mason.
Fisk University. I'm getting ready to kick it to you. Hold on, I'm getting ready to kick it to you. They were both graduates of American Baptist College, which was a theological school in Nashville that was very big at the time for Black folks. And C.T. Vivian met James Lawson, who was kind of the leader of a bunch of students that went on to do the Nashville sit-ins, the lunch counter sit-ins, which I grew up 40 minutes from Nashville, and I'm really just learning about the Nashville lunch counter sit-ins. Definitely led by John Lewis, Diane Nash, and a host of others. These folks integrated downtown Nashville for the most part by sitting at the lunch counters when it was against the law, being arrested, beaten. John Lewis, of course, was in the Freedom Rides. Selma, huge on voting rights, and infamously in Selma, he was basically beaten to a pulp by police. And he never quit, kept going. John Lewis is a true American hero, served, in the House of Representatives, I think since 85, representing Atlanta. But Rich, as a Fisk University graduate like John Lewis, what did John Lewis mean to the civil rights movement? And is he a prominent figure now on Fisk campus? Are there buildings named after him and things like that? Rich.
Can you hear?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
No, I'm assuming that Rich can't hear us.
Yeah.
So.
Seems that way. All right. Well, anyways, rest in peace to John Lewis and C.T. Vivian. Are you back?
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
Yeah.
now. Did you hear me?
Guess not.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you. Oh, he's coming out.
All right. We may never know the
back
answer to that.
Anyways, two legends in the civil rights movement who largely aren't talked about, just as impactful as Dr. King, if not more. So shout out to John Lewis and C.T. Vivian.
Cool. Well, Rich, when he comes back, we'll have him talk more about their relationship to Fisk. No, he's back. What's up? What's up, Rich? Can you hear us?
Welcome back to the program.
Yeah. I guess he can. All right. We'll move on then.
Yeah, Sam, how have you been recently?
Yeah, man. So I don't have like a serious of a introduction as Mason does. I was going to say that I was going to open up a law firm in the bubble and start getting all those guys as clients. I don't know if you saw, they just had the standalone barbershop built. So I was going to build my law office right next to the barbershop, and then we're going to create like a little NBA town row. It's going to be great. I'm going to cut them deals and then represent them after we get out of the bubble as well. So you see me hang the Sam Strantz PLLC shingle there in the bubble. Look for that. Better call Sam. Number one. Number two, happy birthday, Penny Hardaway. It's our head basketball coach's birthday today. King James gave him a shout out on Instagram, which is, that's not insignificant to get a LeBron James story post about you and talking about how you had a huge effect on him as a developing young basketball player. So that was good to see. Obviously, University of Memphis posted it as a marketing tool on their main account, as they should. And then third, I had a couple of big life things this weekend. I had a 31st birthday, which is not a big deal, but it was the first time that I had more people. Thank you, I appreciate that, Slim. It was the first time that I was around more than 7 people, I believe, since March. And we had people come over, and it wasn't a ton of people, but it was like 12, 13 people. Some people wore masks, some people did not. But we were at my place. We were mostly outside, so it was like the first hangout, which was cool. But like numbers are surging, so it's kind of uncomfortable too. But it was fun, and I will say 31 is no different than 30. And I feel like every year till 40, so I told Zach, is going to feel the same, I think. And then 40 will feel really annoying and weird probably. But at least for the next decade, I can kind of chill, because that's good. And then last night we had a engagement party at my aunt and uncle's house. My fiance and I. Zach was there. Mason was not. He's on the West Coast and couldn't make it into town. But it was here in Memphis, and it was nice to have the family. And it was actually the first time that our families met. So my family had never met her family, and so they met at my aunt and uncle's house. But it went off fine. Her parents are divorced.
Neutral ground.
Yeah, neutral ground. And her parents are divorced, and supposedly they don't get along really well. But they were totally civil. She made it sound like they were going to start like a fist fight, over like a crab cake or something. But it was good, man. Had a good time. It was good to have all of our families under one roof, and it's cool to be joining 2 families together. That's the cool part about marriage. And then having some of our friends there to meet, like some of her brothers met, like Zach and all them. So that was cool. But yeah, excited for basketball to be back, and the summer is well into it, like more than halfway through, and it doesn't feel like almost the end of July, which is insane to just say that, because it just feels like the summer got away from us, because it did. We can't do shit.
Yeah.
Rich, are you back officially?
I think, man, I'm on my phone now, so you got to be flexible with it.
Yeah.
But I know it felt like I missed a lot. So yeah, sorry for any hints or anything I missed out on.
It's all good. I just had asked you what did John Lewis mean to the civil rights movement, and is he like a notable figure on Fisk campus to this day, or like buildings named after him and things like that?
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, man. I mean, John Lewis is really one of the GOATs. I mean, he's been around for so long. Like, he started as an undergraduate student. It was kind of hand selected to be a part of that true inner circle, really marching with Dr. King. And I hate that oftentimes we don't fully celebrate and give people their flowers until they're gone. And so to answer your question, how there is no statue or building on campus currently, I'm sure that's probably going to come now. For John Lewis at Fisk, I think him and Diane Nash were 2 of the pivotal leaders of that movement, of that Nashville sit-in freedom riders movement, as well as the Voting Act. And so I think the only current statue we have on campus to this day is W.E.B. Du Bois, who was a superb intellect. But yeah, man, I think he meant so much, and I think he was a part of the legacy that a lot of us current students and young alumni were trying to be even half of. And you see up until his old age, like he was still fighting to this day, like as recently as 2 months ago, right? And he's just somebody who was steadfast and just a true warrior, and just such a powerful figure, in a calming way, to just lead in the manner that he did for so long and to impact so many generations, from like my grandmother to my parents to myself as a young Fiskite. Just rest in power. There's a hashtag good trouble that's going around. John Lewis said it's okay to get in good trouble, and everything he did was for the greater good of our people. He got some good trouble. He got in a lot of trouble, a lot of good trouble. So rest in power, John Lewis. Fist forever, baby.
Yeah, and seeing his and CT Vivian's name yesterday was crazy, because I'm actually reading a book titled The Children by David Halberstam. He of plenty of NBA biography book fames. And it's talking about the Nashville sit-in movement and everything. And so as I'm learning about this, they pass away, and you can really see how big of an impact they had. So definitely check that book out. It's about 900 pages, but so far 400 pages in, it's definitely been worth it.
For sure.
Sweet. All right, let's move into some hoops talk. So this week, the Grizzlies scrimmage schedule got released, and they announced that, thankfully, they're going to be streaming all the scrimmages on Grizzlies.com, and our boy Pete Pranica is going to be giving some commentary. He was the only name listed, so I assume he's doing just kind of play-by-play and color, so should be, which he can definitely do. That's going to be awesome.
We have basketball in less than a week.
Yeah, the first matchup is on Friday against the 76ers, so the scrimmage set is pretty good. We've got 76ers on Friday. Sunday got the Rockets, and then on July 28th, a few days before the restart, we got the Heat. And they're going to play 10-minute quarters instead of 12-minute quarters. But really, that's a pretty good lineup. We'll get to see some stars kind of get back into their rhythm. And obviously not playing the amount of minutes that they've been used to, but, their first time on the court. And we'll actually get a peek at the power forward Ben Simmons before anyone else. So I know, Sam, we were kind of talking about on Twitter about the 76ers. What do you think of Simmons moving to the 4 slot?
I think he's played that dunker spot kind of anyway. But he started at point guard, like just in the lineups. And we wondered who would. So does that make Tobias Harris play the 2 now? Because you've got Embiid, you've got Horford, you got Tobias Harris. And so who technically is what do the wings look like, and then what do the bigs look like? Is Horford coming off the bench? So
they've already said Horford's coming off the bench. So it's Shake Milton, Josh Richardson, Tobias, Ben, and Embiid.
That's probably the best lineup the Sixers can put forward. And honestly, I picked the Sixers to go to the finals this year, well before, like at the beginning of the season, I picked Lakers Sixers. And I Zach Lowe always talks about them like his I can't quit them team. Like they're like the ex-girlfriend that like you just can't not text it in the middle of the night when you're in the midst of college and it's not a good idea. Even though they don't make a lot of sense, like on paper, they make a lot of sense on paper, I guess, but in practicality, they haven't performed like they should. They have a lot of good players, but they just can't shoot threes to the degree they need to. Although Shake Milton's been a bright spot for them from deep this year, kind of like who would have seen that coming. But I'm excited to see the Sixers. And to your point, Zach, great 3 games. I mean, to play 3 really good and really different teams, especially 2 really grindy teams in the Sixers and the Heat, to warm up, I think it's going to be valuable for our young guys, like ready for the Blazers in the official game. But are we going to watch these games? Are you guys going to watch these games? I will, because I'm starved for basketball. But I feel like I don't want to cheapen the beginning of the actual season either. So like I'm almost compelled to like not watch the movie trailer and just kind of like wait for the trailer. You know what I mean?
I'm definitely gonna watch. Like what? I'm definitely tuned in Friday at 2:30, and Sunday at 7. I'll be watching. Now, Tuesday at 1 p.m., that's a little more difficult. That's right in the middle of the workday, which unfortunately a lot of these eight seeding games are going to be right in the middle of the workday. So that sucks. But, yes, I will be tuned in Friday at 2:30 for that 76ers matchup. It's going to be interesting to see, like, how this has never happened before. Like, so how are the coaches going to treat it by minutes? Is like Ja going to play one quarter and the starters play one quarter of the first game, play a half of the second game, play a full game against the Heat? Are they going to do it in reverse, like start full and then work their way back down? It's going to be interesting to see because I have no idea what I would do.
One thing you have to acknowledge too is that we're at an advantage with young legs. That's been talked about a lot by all the talking heads. But I mean, it is facts. Like we have a young team, young guys, all stayed in shape just by virtue of being young. They don't have to work as hard to stay in shape. So it's like they can come back and kind of go balls to the wall faster than a lot of the other teams can. And that's just purely based on age. So we're definitely sitting pretty there. So I bet these pregame games, scrimmage games, will play more minutes than maybe like, LeBron will play, for example.
Yeah,
but maybe he'll scale them up. Like maybe he'll scale them up by quarter, like you said. We'll see. But did y'all see Justice Winslow today? Speaking about the Grizzlies, he went to his media availability and like was happier than a clam, man. Like he was grinning and talking about the team, and he just like screamed at the camera to like with such a ferocious scream that it like blacked out the volume for a little bit. It was intense, man. I'm excited to see that guy. Like that's what I'm most excited about, and I think we all are.
He had on Josh shooting sleeve, man. So yeah. it just came
he
out.
He had the power. That's
you heard me.
And it didn't slide down his arm like Jaws.
Yeah, I saw a tweet the other day. I think Devin Walker posted it. That it was no more pulling up the armband, trying to imply that Ja just put on like so much muscle, and I'm pretty sure that thing's still gonna be sliding.
So here's my take on the Ja weight gain. Like I don't think he put on much muscle in his upper body. Although he's a little more defined. He's just a skinny guy. It's gonna be tough for him to put on like weight. But then again, we saw Giannis do that, like to dividends. I mean, he's fucking yoked now. But Ja, I think his legs are more defined now. Like when I see him, like when he's running around, like his quads particularly are more defined and muscular. And that's what a lot of people, when they put on weight, is in their legs. And honestly, that's going to be great for him. I mean, it's made him more explosive, and I think it's going to be great for his game. So like, that's something I've noticed. A lot of people like when they're like, "Oh, I've gained muscle," they're like, only look at biceps or chest, but that's usually not the case, especially in a jumpers game.
Hey, there you have it, folks.
Hey, I'm just out here. Yeah, I mean, like, I can pretty much.
Sounds good. I don't know if that was a loaded shit or not, but it sounded great.
No, I'm telling you, man. Because I first saw his arms and I was like, he definitely doesn't look bigger. But then I don't know. He looks like his quads are like because he's a skinny guy, So there's skinny guy muscular, and then there's like different levels of muscular. But he has like muscular ass legs for a skinny guy, which is good. Like that'll absorb that contact when he comes down and put less pressure on his knees when he's running around. If you're a skinny guy like that and you jump like that, you got to have like really strong hamstrings and really strong quads. But anyway, that's my take.
Rich, out of those 3 games, anything that sticks out to you, the scrimmages that you're looking out for?
Yeah, definitely. I think just that first one from the jump, like y'all already touched on, like there were so many. We're playing some really solid teams in these scrimmages, right? And to hit the ground running with Philly, who of course will be working through their own kinks, I think could be a really good measuring stick as we kind of get into the seeding games, because there are so many variables at play, namely the Pelicans and Zion's absence currently. Hope all is well with his family, man, whatever's going on. But that's an advantage for the Grizzlies right now, currently. So, to be able to kind of probe and capitalize on that, I think will be really helpful as they finish the scrimmages and go into the seeding games. But yeah, I think I'm just interested to see all the teams, honestly, and seeing how everybody's, bouncing back. It's been a long time. I mean, that was like mid-March when the season was suspended. That's a lengthy time. So just to see some basketball, to see what it's going to look like and sound like, I think is what I'm really looking forward to. Just seeing, because I know the NBA has put a lot of work into this, but to just finally see the finished product come to fruition, I think it'll be very interesting because, like we said, this is something we've never seen before. This is the first time. So, of course, there are going to be kinks. There's going to be, trial and error. But you know, the bubble is coming to life, man. I mean, they really built a whole community in there. Like I saw they were building legit ass barbershops inside today. Like it's really looking like a fucking block or some shit. So just excited to see them basketball, man. Honestly, just excited for some ball.
Are you going to be able to watch? I know you said you're starting a new gig, so 2:30 on Friday. You gonna be able to pull that?
Oh yeah, man. You know, don't show this to my employers, but yeah, you know, I'll still be working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Background noise.
We're all working, man. Yeah, we're all working.
I'll get done what I need to get done.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely be watching those games at the crib for sure.
All right, so you kind of hit on it, but the biggest news of the week is Zion leaving the bubble for family issues. He and Montrezl Harrell both basically just suddenly departed the bubble out of nowhere, and we don't know what's going on in either case. Like you said, hope everything's good with their families. Hope they're getting everything taken care of and can return soon. But the point of conversation has really been how long will they have to quarantine when they get back. So, Sam, can you break it down, kind of how long they may have to quarantine when they get back? Is this a Zion rule? Is a new rule about to be made?
Maybe. I mean, that's yet to be seen. But the provision of the policy, that 119-page policy, got posted by one of the media members about this protocol. And the way I read it anyway, and it's a little bit confusing, but it is that if when you leave, normally, if you don't do anything, when you come back, you have to quarantine for 10 days or 2 weeks. I'm not sure. Like when you come back to the bubble, because the presumption is you've been out in the world and like been exposed to it. And if one person gets a sand in a microchip, then the whole thing's blown up. So they take it very seriously when you come back in. But if while you're outside the bubble, you test every day or every other day, you get the certified, whatever, the PCL, there's some sort of acronym for a test that they recognize as accurate. If you get that every other day and provide a legitimate reason, I forgot what their language is, but you have to have like an actual reason to leave the bubble. And when you get back, you take one of those pharyngeal tests or whatever, where they put the Q-tip way up your nose, the intense one. And you pass that. You pass 2 of those. When you re-enter the bubble, you only have to quarantine for like 4 to 6 days. So the assumption is they'll definitely figure out a way to make Zion be able to do that and get back on the court as fast as possible. Because frankly, I mean, we all want to see him play. First of all, second of all, the NBA really does, because they had the Pelicans schedule is insane and national. And honestly, this is the second time Zion's done this to them. And I say done this to him, he didn't purposely do it, but it's the second time they've been burned by creating a schedule for a guy that can't seem to stay healthy or will stay on the court, for one reason or another. And I mean, that sucks for them. But it's here's my thing too. Like, I can't fathom why Harrell or Zion would leave unless it was like a real family thing, because it's such a pain in the ass to even have first got in the bubble. And so if it's like some bullshit reason, there's no way they'd do it. Like, I feel like they would have just never come in to begin with. But it has to be something going on. Now, I don't know what. Like, we know Zion's in a lawsuit right now, and the other lawyer is like flaming his name about benefits to Duke, like literally like submitting subpoenas and all these sort of court documents to get information on his potential illegal benefits. There's affidavits submitted in court, which are sworn statements under penalty of perjury that he took like hundreds of thousands of dollars to go play at Duke, and then he's denying them categorically. But someone's lying on that. But anyway, so he's got a lot going on. I don't know what's going on in his family though. I don't know anything about his family. Like, I know he's from sort of South Carolina, but I don't know if like what's going on, like if they're healthy or what. I don't know.
Yeah, I know Montrezl Harrell. I believe I saw something. It's related to his grandmother.
Okay.
So he basically like posted a story on IG, basically saying like, "Don't worry, like mama, like your boy's coming home. I'm coming to see you." So well wishes definitely sent that way for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you have to, like, unfortunately it's probably something like that. It's like a serious family illness. Like that's the kind of thing that gets you out of the bubble and heading straight home as soon as you can. So hopefully that's not the case, but hopefully everyone is as healthy as possible. And yeah, I mean, that's awful.
Yeah. And I think the policy is fair, because
Sure.
You're going to have guys leaving for the birth of their child or whatever. And as long as they get tested and are negative when they get back for 2 tests in a row, that seems fine to me.
It seems,
There
yeah.
are some guys haven't even made it to the bubble yet, too.
Yeah,
They
Russell
just haven't shown
Westbrook.
up.
Yeah, Westbrook, Eric Bledsoe. Probably
Landry
the two
Shamet.
the two biggest names. Just Shamit. Then I know the Kings have like 3 or 4 guys like Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, Alex Lynn, and maybe one more who haven't made it. So I mean, if the Bucks don't have Eric Bledsoe, it's not having Giannis, but still, that's your starting point guard. Like,
he's their third best player, probably.
You're only going to get so far. I mean, their seeding, they could still, clinch their seeding, but, as far as like a playoff push, that's really going to hurt them.
So if the Bucks don't have Eric Bledsoe, who is the favorite in the East to you guys? And Sam, we'll start with you.
I like the Celtics. I mean, that's a popular pick. A lot of people are talking about how they've got, they got the star power in Kemba, but then also these young leg stars and Jalen Green, their wings, and Jason Tatum. And Jason Tatum was starting to come alive to become a legitimate superstar before the season ended. And they got a great coach, kind of great culture, all of that, this type of stuff that I think will do well in this bubble environment. They seem to be really dedicated, really great group of young guys that, like, I mean, that's one of those teams. They're probably like 3 or 4 years ahead of the Grizzlies, but that's where we'd hope to be when Ja and Jaren are like 22, 23, is kind of in that position. So I'd pick them, but Raptors are real scary. They're just like super well put together. They just don't have any bad players. They're all really smart. Nick Nurse, probably one of the top 3 coaches in the league. They play all kinds of crazy defenses, and they play really hard, man. Like I'd be scared of seeing either of those teams if I'm the Bucks in the second round, which they probably will.
Yeah, definitely. The Celtics are a good pick. Zach, who do you like if the Bucks don't have Bledsoe?
I'm honestly not sleeping on the Heat. I think that's a tough team, especially come playoff time. You got Jimmy Butler, a MIP candidate in Bam Adebayo. Kendrick Nunn's had a great rookie season. Robinson, Harrow, like a lot of guys that have come together to play really good team basketball. And they've got Andre Iguodala. I'm just kidding. That doesn't impact this decision at all. But I think the Heat are honestly like a pretty good, like they're a team that I think could be pretty sneaky. They're into the season in March, 12 games out of the first place spot. But I think most of that stuff you can kind of throw out the window once we get to this situation next week. It's kind of like it's starting totally over. And what happened the first 4 or 5 months of the season, I don't think matters that much, really.
Yeah. And the Heat have wing defenders out the ass. So, like, they would be a problem for the Celtics, like, just based on defense alone. I'm not sure that they can score with the Celtics. But Rich, who you like if the Bucks don't have Bledsoe?
Man, it's tough for sure. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are 2 of my favorite young players. Currently, just great wings for sure. And then Nick Nurse, I think, is just also, like, to Sam's point, one of the top coaches in the NBA right now. And honestly, I wasn't thinking of Miami when you first posed this question, but Zach mentioning that Miami's sneaky. They're deep, man. They're like super deep. I think they go 2 deep at each position at least. And we hear a lot about the culture that the Miami Heat have. It's so professional and so just focused. And I think this type of environment just further enhances that. Like, you got a leader like Jimmy Butler who got a noise complaint from someone in the hotel because he was working out in
I was
his room.
about to mention that. That's like psycho. That's the most Jimmy Butler story ever, man.
Yeah, he's a psycho. And I think in this environment, it just further enhances that. So I know he got those young guys locked in. He might let Tyler Herro go get his fits off on IG, get fly. But he's like, Tyler, come lock in. And they're following him. Jay Crowder has a lot of playoff experience. Bam Adebayo is coming into his own. So Miami is definitely sneaky scary. And you also have to think about, Boston is so talented as well, but that 5 position for them has always been a point of note this season. There's been the revolving door with Enes Kanter, who doesn't play defense, Robert Williams, who's been a project for a decade, and Daniel Tice, who does what he can. So, yeah, man, I think I might be going with Miami potentially. I just think this environment suits them and the leadership. And I know Pat Riley is going to have them boys in check.
I'm going to keep it short. I like Philly. But I think this is the first year in a long time that I'm more looking forward to the Eastern Conference playoffs than the Western Conference playoffs. And my reasoning is because I think the Nuggets and the Jazz are gonna get beat no matter who they play in the first round. And I think in the East anything can happen.
You think the Mavs are going to beat either of them, or OKC?
I think OKC or the Mavs, will beat either of them.
Yeah. No respect, man. No respect for the Nugs. No respect for the Jazz. No respect for your boy Mac 10.
Hey, I mean, I'm just going based on what I've seen so far this year. I know
I think everybody in the West just wants to fast forward to the Western Conference Finals, man.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants the Battle of LA. Like, all the other shit doesn't even matter.
You know, it makes me realize that this is what I've told Zach before too, but I feel like the way we think of the Nuggets or Jazz is kind of how people thought of the Grizzlies back in the heyday. You know, we were 5, 4, 5, 6 seeds every year. And like, we played this, you know, not in the style of basketball, but kind of in the, like, who cares? Like, yeah, like they may make the playoffs and may win 50-something games. And like everyone talks about their defense, but when the chips are down in the playoffs, they're not going to actually beat anybody of note. And I feel like that's kind of how I feel about the Nuggets. And because I'm like, my point with the Nuggets is like, who do they got? You know, when the chips are down, like, okay, Jokic. I don't know if he can like win them a game like in the last few minutes. Like, he's a great passer, but you need like a Jamal Murray to be a superstar level guy, and he's just not that yet. Fairly or not.
Yeah, they're kind of like that. Like we were, I think, like that hipster, very niche basketball. Like, you seem really smart if you pick them and know a lot about that team, because they're not getting talked about on the mainstream, but it's because they don't have the stars. And because of that, they're not getting to the finals. But It sounds cool to, like, you know, hype them up.
And they're the 3rd seed. It's not like they're, I mean, we were never a top 4 seed. In a tougher conference at that point, but still.
And I mean, they're just now getting Gary Harris and Torrey Craig to the bubble. So they still got a quarantine, and, you know, then it's basically a week, and then it's game time. So by the time they're done quarantining, they probably have a week. I just don't see the Nuggets being good.
I don't think MPJ is there yet either.
Okay.
He hasn't come to the bubble. And Denver, and then Utah, I think they're just going to be dealing with the proverbial elephant in the room until the shit is over. And that's, you know, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell's relationship, which apparently was fractured even prior to the COVID situation.
It was bad before that.
So it's
sources say
not looking pretty. Sources say, not looking good out in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I mean, that Jazz locker room, that's the main thing. There's no chemistry. They lost Bogey, who was one of their better players this year. They're just 1, 2, 3 Cancun. They're ready to get the hell out of there.
So,
1, 2, 3.
So
I like that.
Kind of my take on the Nuggets and the Jazz. Like, they haven't won anything yet, so they haven't gotten that love yet. But I feel like the same thing could be said for the Bucks, for example, who haven't, you know, even get the finals yet.
For all 3 contenders, the Bucks, Clippers, and Lakers.
Yeah, that's true. So, you know, we talk about Giannis, who's obviously an MVP guy, like incredible player. But, you know, technically he hasn't done it yet. So we'll see. Like, and we're kind of all championing the Bucks, at least to some extent, but they haven't done it yet. So I guess I should be hesitant for them too.
Yeah, I mean, I could see any of the teams that we mentioned from the East getting to the conference finals, like 5 or 6 teams. And in the West, you just don't see that. If it's not the Lakers or Clippers, literally everyone would be shocked. So, and maybe that's the case for the East too. But like you said, the Bucks haven't proved anything to us. So even when they do get Bledsoe back, yes, they will be the favorites, but we won't be shocked if they lose in the conference finals, which they didn't even make it to last year.
Oh, it's true. Yeah. That was Philly and the Raptors. And it took a crazy bounce on a Kawhi shot to even beat the Sixers last year.
Yeah. I mean, Philly was that shot away from going to the finals.
That's actually pretty crazy. Like, I feel like that's not talked about a lot.
Now, granted, they lost Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick. So there's a different team, whole different dynamic. They haven't gelled quite the same this year, but still, Portland fucking made it farther than the Bucks last year. So.
Oh, so to that end, who are you most scared of in the West to either overtake the 8th seed? We talked about this before, but now that we know more about the teams and who's going to be there and report and kind of seeing them play on Instagram a little bit, have y'all's opinions developed as to who you're most afraid to play as either an 8-9 or, you know, who you scared of in the West? Rich, who do you hate the most?
Man, I'm still kind of in the same boat I was earlier. I think when it's coming down to Portland and Sacramento, honestly, I know the media is talking about the Pelicans a lot. Love pop, but not really focus on the Spurs at all. I think out of those seeding teams, Portland has the best player who can go nuclear, and that's Dame Lillard. We've seen that, right? Now they do have to integrate Zach Collins and Nurkic back into the lineup. Melo slimmed down a little bit so that he could slide to the three. So he'll be starting at the three, I'm assuming. And so just those big bodies, I'm just thinking about rebounding. They might be owning the boards. I mean, Nurkic is a dog down there, And when you think about Sacramento, they just, New Orleans had our number 2, but De'Aaron Fox really has been taking it at Ja. And I think he's really going to take this a little personally because I think Ja has really catapulted to that almost superstar realm of this young future point guard face of the NBA, kind of leapfrog De'Aaron Fox in a way.
For sure.
As the super uber athletic point guard. And so, I think that's going to be definitely a personal battle for De'Aaron Fox. They're working on this multi-positional thing with Marvin Bagley. I still have yet to see it. But I know they're locked in. Rashawn Holmes is locked in this room because he was picking up post but that's another story. And so at the end of the day, though, I think it's still Portland for me. I think Dame, as we all know, always has a chip on his shoulder, even when nobody's talking about him. And so I just foresee him or McCollum. Or even, I don't think we'll get a vintage Melo game, but there might be one where Melo comes out with 25 on him. You never know. They just got some people that can get buckets. I still got faith in the Grizz, though. If the Grizz handle business like, they should. But Portland for sure.
What
about you, Zach?
Oh, yeah, Zach.
Yeah, I agree with Rich. It was Portland for me a few weeks ago. It's still Portland. I think they have the most nuclear player, the best player who can score, 40 plus in Dame, and he and CJ can go on a tear. So I'd have to say they're the most scary for me still.
Yeah, I mean, Portland and New Orleans. Not really too worried about Sacramento or the Spurs, but I think if I was putting percentages on the Grizzlies' chance of being the 8th seed in the actual playoffs, I'd put it at like 80%. That's how confident I am in being able to beat those teams in a play-in game, even if it does come to that situation. Like Portland does have the talent, but they haven't played together in over a year. Like that's tough. And granted, we don't know how any team is going to come out of this chemistry-wise, what the ball movement is going to look like. It's not going to be the beautiful basketball of Spurs and Heat from like 2013. I can tell you that. This is going to be an ugly playoffs, and it's going to be about, honestly, grit and grind and whoever's shooter is knocking down shots and whichever superstar rises to the occasion.
Yeah, I think I said before the Pelicans, and the Blazers are definitely like kind of leapfrogging them in terms of the popular conscious, because someone posted like the Dame Nurkic like tandem apparently is like some wild analytical. They're fucking awesome together, and that's the reason why they went to the West Conference Finals last year. And they're like, everyone's forgotten how good they are because they haven't played in forever. And I started to get swayed for a second, but then I realized that I think if we play the Blazers, I feel more comfortable in that matchup than I do against the Pelicans. I just do not want to play the Pelicans, man. Like, I don't know what it is. I maybe it's because I was at both those games this year.
They whipped our ass, yeah. That's what it is.
And I was there too, and like, being at the game, like y'all know, like it's just when you watch your ass get whooped at a Martin Luther King game, when like you have the day off from work and like maybe you go to the Civil Rights Museum that morning and see some of the keynote speakers, and then you walk over to the Forum, you're excited, like, and you want to take in a game while the city of Memphis is celebrated for once, and then you get your ass beat, by a non-Zion Pelicans team. It's tough, man, and like they just match up. I hate the matchup. On the other hand, we've beaten the Blazers, if not every time this year, like 2 out of 3 times, very convincingly too, in serious situations where the Blazers were trying to, climb in the ranking to get back into the playoffs. So I don't know. I don't like the matchup, man. I don't like what the Pelicans do, and just they have a lot of lanky, athletic guys, and would hate to see him for sure. But would really just like to get that 8 seed outright. That'd be awesome. I know we'd all like that, but I just can't see that happening either.
Yeah, so coming back to play, these guys are going to get to put new names on their jerseys. And we got a couple of Grizzlies who have decided what they're going to have. Kyle Anderson will have Listen to Us. Grayson and Conchar both have Equality. Justice Winslow is going to have Speak Up, and Anthony Tolliver is going to have Group Economics. Which one is your favorite of those? Do any of those stick out? Do you even care about these names on the back of their jerseys? I mean, I think it's a fine gesture by the NBA, but like this a name on the back of a jersey ain't doing shit.
Yeah, I think it's a fine gesture, right? But it is what it is. It's optional. I know that Russell Westbrook, his clothing line has partnered with the NBPA to release merch for the players to wear with some more in-depth social justice messaging that, kind of didn't have to be pre-approved by the league. So it's cool, you know what I mean, for what it is. And I think it really speaks to the vast, issues in hand. Like there's so many different issues out there, shit that needs to be rectified. But I know like group economics, when I saw that from Tolliver, that's something that I had to educate myself on because I wasn't familiar with it. So after, researching it, I saw what, he was talking about, bringing our resources together to strengthen the community for sure. And I think, that just speaks to a lot of the mindset. I think that I'm really glad he's a part of this team right now. Yeah. Just that old head OG kind of putting the guys on game. I saw he rounded up some of the young guys for golf the other day, and I think he's a wealth of knowledge. I think I follow him on social media, and it's just like his family, his faith, and basketball. He's just a really solid guy. So it's cool. It is what it is, but yeah, I'm not going to be looking at it during the game, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it moves the needle, obviously, but it's better than the alternative, like the NFL, who fines people like $1 billion if they write like breast cancer awareness on their cleats or something, or wear pink cleats, because their mom is, like D'Angelo Williams, for example, notable Memphis Tiger running back. So at least it's a stark contrast and an example of the NBA being the most progressive league that tries to be somewhat sensitive to what's going on. What I don't want to happen, though, is people that don't put anything on their jersey. I don't want there to be a conversation about them. And I don't think there's going to be. But I could see people on social media because they're annoying, like being like, "Oh, these people not care because they put their last name on here." I could just see that being an annoying tweet that goes out and gets some traction. Maybe not, but I've just been on Twitter too long, I think.
Yeah, they got Braun. I mean, Braun decided he's going to just put his last name on his jersey, so I think that kind of might. That's
true. That should mitigate everything.
Put a kibosh on that. Yeah, they're gonna be like, well, if that's what one of the biggest leaders in the sport, if not the biggest leader, decided to just keep his name on it, then that's definitely an acceptable direction. Jimmy Butler wanted to put no name or put nothing at all on his jersey because he was saying that his point was that we're all everyone's the same, and then the NBA told me he couldn't do that.
Huh? What's that, Matt? I mean, just let him do it. What if he just put no name? That's what you should do.
It's not pre-approved message.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So are there any favorite moments from the bubble so far? I mean, my favorite, hands down, is Ben Simmons fucking missing the water when he tossed that fish back in. He threw the fish right off the dock, and, I mean, he's standing on the edge of the dock. So that's my favorite. I don't have any favorite strictly Grizzlies moments. What about you guys?
Not so much as far as Grizzlies, but the whole shotgunning between everyone has been pretty entertaining to me. I think Myers Leonard was one of the first ones to do it, but I want to point out that the first beer he shotgunned was like the hole on it was like, I don't know, like the size, like a quarter of the can. So it wasn't even like a true shotgun. I feel like that's just too easy at that point. But he redeemed himself a few days later with a 16-ounce. With a much smaller hole. So I appreciated that because I was not that impressed with the first one.
Your beard suggests that you might critique one's shotgunning abilities.
I was going to say, I don't know how Rich is, but Zach, I mean, I feel like I don't remember Mason being much of a shotgunner. I'm completely mediocre at it. I'm not the worst. I'm certainly not the best. Zach is probably the best shotgunner here at Rich, unless you want to claim the throne. I don't know what you're. They go to college with you, man. Like we haven't shotgunned a brew together.
Mid-tier. Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
I would probably put Zach ahead of us. I've never seen anyone funnel a beer like Zach. So shotgunning's somewhat in line.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, next.
I think for me, I've been seeing some cool content for sure. I think, just the Grizzlies camaraderie. I think a couple days ago they went live on their IG, and it was supposed to be a Brandon Clark interview. Jaren ended up sitting in on it with him. Ja texted them like during the live. It's like, where y'all at? Like, what y'all doing? They're like, oh, come up here. We're in here. And Ja crashed the party. They're just having a good ass time, man. They're just a close knit bunch. And on YouTube, JaVale McGee of the Lakers and Matisse Thybulle of the Philadelphia 76ers have both taken to daily, like full-on professional vlogging of the experience. Matisse is just he's really good. He's really good, man. And it's just showing kind of the day in the life of what they're doing. Like, it's literally just like, wake up, eat, stretch, get treatment, practice, do what you want to do. And, he's kind of bored. You know what I mean? He was looking for more stuff to do. And then that's when they got into the game room and golf and fishing. So there's stuff to do, right? And I think it really gives you a chance to bond with your teammates, like outside of just work. I think it's similar to like coworkers, right? You can have like work friends, but that doesn't mean like you're hanging out outside of work. I think this is allowing people to develop relationships outside of, the confines of their arena, which is pretty cool to see because it's like, just one big ass AAU tournament, where they're getting paid.
Yeah.
Where some AAU tournaments players are getting played too, but
yeah. They can talk about it on this. Yeah, the NBA bubble Twitter account's great. Has been commented on by JJ Redick and Pat Bev. Shout out JJ Redick podcast. Pat Bev was on there. Fantastic. Go listen to that if you want to fucking run through a wall right after, because you will. He's fantastic perspective too from a guy that's like hasn't been given everything. Wasn't even in the league for a long time. Two of my favorite things are the Hassan Whiteside is always really funny when he records himself on Instagram Live, because I think he just takes like way too many edibles and then like just talks. And so recently he's been like walking the halls seemingly aimlessly, looking for Mickey Mouse. And so like he'll be like Mickey, where are you at, bruh? Mickey. And then it'll be like, then he'll like cut off and he'll come back and he'll be in a different part of the complex and be like, Mickey, where you at, bruh? And so there's been that. And so Son, he's a space cadet, as they say, which we love. And then
the Athletic did have a huge article about how much weed players were bringing down there, saying like some of them were going to need a pound of weed to last throughout the whole bubble. So he could
for sure. And then they were talking about the JJ is talking about the commerce of that, like how guys are going to get more in, like what that looks like if they're going to have an ability to ship it to themselves, or if there's going to be a situation where how do they meet their guy? They can't leave the bubble and their guy can't come in. So like all that sort of stuff. He said that he was more worried about that than he was about girls, which was really funny. And I mean, I kind of makes sense. And then the other thing that I saw that was really good is Masai Ujiri, the Raptors GM, gave a tour of the Raptors hotel, like their floor that they have. And basically they set it up to be like basically the practice facility. They put Raptors insignia on the elevator and like to make it look like it's the Raptors elevator at home. Like they put the graphics on. And then when you go up to the floor, like they have the Raptors like locker room things on the doors of the players. They have a training room. Like they rented out a room where there's like you go and get stretched, get worked out, get a massage. They have a whole room dedicated to that. And he kind of took you through that as a GM. And that was cool and unique. And it made me think about like, I wonder, that's the culture thing you hear about. That's why the Raptors. And you wonder what other teams are doing, or if that's a rarity. So that was cool. And all that stuff's great. I hope they're recording all this and going to show it at some point.
Yeah, it could definitely be some great documentaries. I mean, I watched Matisse and some of JaVale's vlogs earlier after Rich mentioned them, and that shit was fun. Like they're 10 minutes each or so, and like they're pretty captivating just to get an eye on what's going on inside the bubble. It looks fun. I mean, for 2 weeks or so, I don't know if I'd like it for 2 months, but a couple of weeks, yeah. And it'll be interesting to see what new stories come out, because I think by tomorrow, almost all of the journalists who are down there to cover the games will be out of quarantine. So they'll be able to roam around and maybe, give us pictures, more videos of things that are going on. Maybe they'll see somebody sneaking some women in, or I did hear on one of the Athletic podcasts that there's some pretty good looking trainers down there who may have been a way to get by the rules. Is if you can have a trainer and a masseuse down there. So it said there's some talent walking around. I guess I'll leave it at that.
Also, the Mavs are like playing a bunch of crazy. Like they're like the most. Apparently, JJ Barea is like the most competitive guy ever. And he just like he's like Jordan in that respect. Like he'll take any minute game and turn it into this like bloodbath. And like one thing I saw, they're playing spike ball in the practice court. Mason and I, of course, are 10-time spike ball runner-ups, losing to O'Neal and Kawhi like 7 million times. And we also saw them playing they were playing pickleball, I believe, in the parking lot, and which is like basically like tennis and ping pong combined. And they had set it up, and Brea was just like berating Luka and like talking shit to him, and was running around like you guys got to check this out. But they're like, apparently Brea just sets up all these miniature games, and he's old too. I think, I guess seems like he is. But anyway, that's something we're checking out too. All the NBA bubble shit, man. I just eat that shit up.
Speaking of eating that shit up, Ja Morant locked up Rookie of the Year when the NBA announced that awards are going to be based on the first 65 games or through March 13th or whenever it was that the season was canceled. So, Zach, you kind of want to hit on that a little bit?
Yeah, March 11th is with the date that everyone has to take into account as like the cutoff for doing their votes. So, and just kind of want to run through what you guys have on your ballots at this point. What some of the big ones, obviously, MVP, Rookie of the Year. I don't even know if we need to talk about Rookie of the Year very much. I think we know that one.
How many people are going to vote for Zion and be like, oh, in the 19 games he played, he was so great. He has to get this. Like how many assholes are going to be in the media? Like at least 3, right?
I was going to say like 2 or 3, but no way they get out of there without being completely ridiculed by everyone else.
I feel like they can't now. Yeah, because like there's no even bubble games to hang your hat on. I mean, now it would be like completely. I feel like your media card would be pulled at that point. Is like, or at least no one would take you seriously from then on, like Zach said.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
Brandon Clark should be second. Like,
yeah, let's talk about who we think should be second. Yeah, I think that's a more like, let's take Zion out of it. Who do we, that's a more interesting conversation. Is who would we put second? Brandon Clark probably is who I would, but I'm biased. But I'm trying to think about other candidates. I mean, like,
you got Kendrick Nunn.
The Cody White. I don't know what you guys think. He's put up a few scoring numbers in Chicago, but I don't know if he's a first team even.
Yeah, I think
I like Kobe. I liked him coming out of North Carolina a lot, but I don't think he's quite there yet. He's a little bit streaky and kind of irrational, but I think he'll be like a pretty good player down the road. But as far as this rookie season, not good enough for me to get up that high in the voting.
Yeah, I think Nunn's the only one who has an argument for second with Brandon Clark.
Not bad. Draft class, get the Rookie of the Year and the runner-up.
Yeah, to pair with the all-rookie first teamer from last season. So
not bad.
And what's encouraging about that is that, Ja, I mean, you could say that was an easy pick because it's hard to screw up. When you're we've done it obviously, but it's a little bit. We could have taken RJ. We could have. I mean, he could still be a good player, but Ja's the guy we needed. Yeah. But the fact that we traded up to get Brandon means we had our eyes on him. The scout report was correct. He was the right guy for the system. And kudos to the front office on making that. That's a big play, and we made it.
Yeah, I mean, there are teams that are going to be kicking themselves for years over Brandon Clark.
Yeah, I mean, he's like to have a guy, and we're finally the team that he fell to instead of the team that passed up on him.
Right.
Not only do we not make a mistake, which is what we hit. That was our MO was not only just being mediocre, but being shitty. So now we were good, which is like crazy to think about. But it takes decisions like that to put a small market ahead.
Very true. MVP. Rich, who do you have for MVP this year?
Man, I'm biased, man. Come on. I'm going with Bron, man. I have to. Yes, I know Giannis double down on his numbers from last year. I get it, but this dude is 35 years old, man, and this is his first time leading the league in assists. Like, he's averaging double-digit assists. He has integrated not only a new player into the system, a superstar into his team that he's, kind of deferred to in a way scoring-wise to really feed him. And I just think the way LeBron impacts winning and impacts the product on the floor and impacts the players around him, he's the most valuable player. I think Giannis is a freak of nature and probably the best player in the NBA right now? Yes. Yes, most definitely. For years to come. But I still think LeBron James to this day is the most valuable player. So he has my vote.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you're going to be alone in that one.
I'm convinced. I'm going with LeBron too, baby. 26 and 11. Give the king his crown.
The thing about LeBron, like,
he's been cheated out of enough too.
Yeah, he's like this. It would be like almost like awarding him for some of those years where he definitely should have won it. And you're kind of like, okay, Giannis is going to win some more down the road. Like, we don't need to do this right now. And how many more years of this does LeBron have in him? I mean, I guess we've been saying that now for 3 years, and he keeps like coming back and impressing us and showing us that aging may not be real. But yeah, I mean, like, it's impressive in itself to do what he's doing. And I mean, I could definitely see that. Giannis, like, I mean, the stat nerds love him, right? 31.6 PER. That's like Wilt Chamberlain shit. And it's like that's peak LeBron, like, level of efficiency. And the team that Giannis is on is not as good as LeBron's team in terms of personnel, just by virtue of Anthony Davis alone. And Giannis has carried them to 60 plus wins. So I've got to shout out Giannis.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed. I mean, after losing Brogdon, and him moving on, and still being able to kind of hold this team together and be the leader, and just as versatile as he is, I just think that if you take Giannis away, that team is like middling. Like, they're okay, but they're not going to be a top seed in the East. But whereas, like, you take LeBron away, LA still probably got a pretty good team, and you might get penalized a little bit because you do have another superstar on the team. So that's why I got to go with Giannis.
Boo!
Yeah.
No, I mean, Giannis, you can't argue against Giannis. Like, you really can't. So,
I mean, I think the bigger travesty with all those years that LeBron lost to, like, I mean, even the Russ year, like the triple double year, was kind of goofy, and I get it. Like, he did something that's never been done, well, since Oscar Robinson. But I think there's a lot more years where LeBron has a bone to pick than this one. But how many, like I said, like, how many more chances do you have to give it to him and it not be a clear, like, oh, this is like the grandfathering of LeBron MVP trophy?
Yeah, like how it gets with all-star games when guys are averaging like 5 points a game, but they're on their last season, so they get voted in the all-star game.
Yeah, like Dirk the last 3 years of his career.
Exactly. Who you guys got for defensive player of the year? Sam, we'll start with you.
I mean, this is a pure, like, me Googling around and seeing what people are saying, because I didn't watch enough of any of these guys to really make a colorable comment on this. I mean, the two names you see the most are Anthony Davis and Giannis. Anthony Davis is one I probably would have thought, just like given how good the Lakers have been on the defensive end of the floor. I think they're top 3 in defense and offense. And so you have to assume Anthony Davis plays a big part in that. But then apparently, if you pick it apart closer, he hasn't been as good defensively as he was with the Pelicans because he's shouldering more of the load on offense. And so a lot of people are saying Giannis is actually, like, fantastic because of the numbers. I don't know. Like, I don't even know if I want to, like, make a decision because I just don't feel like good about what I've seen of these guys to know their impact. What do you think, Zach?
I would say purely based off a lot of that. So the Bucks have the best defensive rating in the league. Giannis is such a versatile defender, just a freak. So I think that I sure am not picking Gobert. He may be the best defensive player in the league, but I do not care. Gobert's not getting my vote. So I'm giving it to Giannis.
You might hurt his feelings, dude.
Yeah.
The best defensive player may be Rudy Gobert, but who the fuck cares? Zach don't care.
Yeah.
Starting at center, it's Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, I don't have strong feelings, but I would say AD. What about you, Rich?
Yeah, same. I think it's 1A, 1B for me. AD, Giannis. It's a toss-up. But Giannis is just, can't go wrong with that. But AD is a dog on defense, too.
All right, here's kind of a fun one, I think. It's kind of an interesting one. Sixth man of the year. Rich, who do you have for sixth man of the year? Who's been the best off the bench this season? We've got some pretty good options this year, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's I know, and it's similar to the fatigue with Lou Will, for sure. But I mean, this man's still averaging 19 this season. But there's some great performers off the bench. I think, Montrezl Harrell, of course. D Rose did some things before he got injured earlier this year. I think Jordan Clarkson was a huge offensive spark plug when he was sent to the Jazz. But for me, I think it's between Lou Will and I'm blanking. I'm blanking on one prominent individual. But for me, I think I would still go with Lou Will, man. I think just to have two superstars added to his team and he's still getting buckets, and he's still content in that role. It's just he's so smooth with it. He's gonna get his. He's gonna impact the game effectively on the offensive end, of course. And so, yeah, man, I think there's some minor fatigue, similar to Gobert on defense, but I think him and Montrez might split votes from each other. So that could open the door up for a wild card of sorts. So up in the air for me.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Lou Will because he is so important to that team, and he's been so consistent. He's such a dog. He's such a gamer that there's no way voting against him is ever a bad choice as long as he's competing how he's competing now. Mason, what do you think?
Yeah, I like either of the Clipper guys. I would probably lean Montrez, but I also really like Dennis Schroeder in OKC.
Yeah. That was it. Yep.
Yeah.
So I might give Dennis Schroeder my vote just because, like Rich said, I'm kind of split on Trez and Lou. But at the end of the day, y'all know me. I'm voting for Lou Will.
That was all a ruse. So with that being said, did you know Mason shared a core with Lou Will? I don't know if he's ever told that story.
Yeah.
Oh, word.
Lou Will dropped 50. Well, this was we were at team camp at MTSU, and we had played South Gwinnett High School the day before, and Lou Will wasn't there, and they won by 2, a real close game. Then the next day, Lou showed back up. I think he had been at the NBA Players Association Top 100 camp, and Lou dropped 50, and South Gwinnett beat us by 50. He was dunking, talking shit, pulling up from the volleyball court lines. It was unreal. And then after his senior season, which was the following year, he went pro and drafted in the second round. But I could have sworn he was going to be like the number 1 pick after that game. And I didn't really share the court because I was on the bench. I was a freshman, helping pass out water. But it is what it is. I was close.
Hey, close to the 3
after the game.
Yeah, I was in the lines.
Yeah. So with that being said, I'll pick Schroeder. 19 points a game off the bench, leads all the scorers. Actually, he was the leading bench scorer this year. OKC vastly overperformed where everyone thought they were going to be. I mean, I for one thought they were going to be like a definite non-playoff team, kind of in where I thought the Grizzlies were going to be, and they outperformed. Some of that's due to Chris Paul, but obviously 19 points a game off the bench, that's got to have something to do with it as well. So my pick, Schroeder.
Yep, that's where I'm at. Schroeder. He's got the third. He's at third on the team in points per game with 19, like you said, behind SGA and Gallinari. All those games, he's just making such an impact. And that backup point guard position is so important, and that's one thing that Memphis has really struggled with over the years. And I think that is probably an underrated thing that we have now is a good backup point guard and not like the Shelvin Max, the Andrew Harrisons. I know Yes, okay. I liked me some Andy Harrison when he was here, but
Yeah.
he's no Schroeder, he's no Tyus Jones. He's not going to be that consistent for you. Just having someone to run that second unit and take advantage of maybe some of the weaker players on the other team, that's just really important, and just something that Memphis hasn't had that hopefully can help them get to that next step. And I think that's a really big reason why the Thunder have been so impressive this year. He's only averaging 2 assists less than Chris Paul and a point and a half. He's averaging a point and a half more than Chris Paul. So Schroeder's been really impressive this year. He's in a good spot there, really getting some output as opposed to Atlanta, where now they got Trae Young, so he gets his numbers.
Yeah, you don't want to see that 3-guard lineup in the playoffs. I think that could work you. That can break defenses down. What about most improved?
So for most improved, I've got Devontae Graham for me. Let me pull. So last year, played about half the season, 15 minutes a game. Went from 4 points a game to this year averaging 18. It's obviously not like the greatest team playing in Charlotte, but that's a pretty significant jump. Even if you look at per 36, so it kind of, it takes away some of the skewing based on minutes per game. He's averaging, well over 50% more per game. His 3-point shooting's up almost 10 points. He's hitting twice as many a game. Just, he's making hay where the sun's shining over there with not a lot else going on, but he's really taking advantage of that situation, setting himself up good for the future, I think.
Well, Devontae Graham, yeah. I'm going Luka. He's basically an MVP candidate, dark horse MVP, number 5, 6, something like that, averaging 28, 8, and 8, I believe. Just ridiculous. What he's done this year, like in his second year, he's one of the best players in the game. I think you could also say that about Jason Tatum, although his maybe wasn't as sustained as Luka's has been, but especially after the All-Star break, Jason Tatum has been one of the best players in the game. So I think either of them, and this year there's plenty of guys you could vote for, like Devontae Graham, yes, especially when you just look at the raw numbers. Like, that's a huge jump. It makes me question if I'm doing this wrong by picking Luka, but a lot of good players you could pick. Sam, who you like?
Yeah, I think all the names have been said. Bam Adebayo is my pick. He's a guy that, first-time All-Star this year, is kind of one of the linchpins on that Miami Heat team outside of Jimmy, we know. But I think Bam, just Jimmy getting there wasn't enough. You got to have a guy take a leap like Bam did. And he's a defensive stalwart on that team. He can switch and guard everybody. He's who I'm super scared of. If I have like a Jaren Jackson or a scoring wing or scoring big man, he can guard anybody. And he's made himself really effective, and he's just tough. And he does it all. Like, he's not a superstar type guy. He's definitely a guy that I could have seen on those Grizzlies grit and grind teams of yesteryear. And Zach Lowe wrote a great piece about him and where he comes from and his family and all that, which is fantastic. So check that out. But Bam's my pick.
Rich?
I think for me, Bam gets some votes. Devontae gets some votes. But I think my MIP, I'm going to have to go with Brandon Ingram. He's my pick for sure. And, of course, that's just a volume upcharge of transitioning from the Lakers to LA. He has the ball a lot more. But I think he's just such a matchup nightmare as a 3-level scorer. He, too, took an all-star lead this year, selected his first all-star game. And I think he really was able to bring the Pelicans out of that terrible start that they had. Before the Zion effect happened, like, they had a terrible start to the season. And I think B.I. just kind of got them over that hump and kind of took over as that scorer, as the finisher. I think he's the one with the ball in his hands to close games. I think I saw him drop like 49 or 51 against Utah earlier this year. And it was just, great to see because the skill has always been there. The talent has always been there. But it seems like he's finally started to put it all together. And I know he's headed into restricted free agency this summer, and I'm certain that New Orleans doesn't want to let him get away. So B.I.'s got my pick.
Yeah, and one guy who we didn't mention, Pascal Siakam, another huge leap. So, really, this year you can't go wrong with any of the names that were mentioned. But I think it's the right choice for the NBA to base the awards based on the season through March 11th. Makes the most sense. I just hope that they will announce these before the eight seeding games and the playoffs begin, so that guys can have a little fire under them, or be riding their high horse and get knocked off.
Yeah, I think it adds to the storylines too. The NBA loves storylines when they can, announce before a game rookie of the year, John Morant playing runner-up rookie of the year, Zion Williamson, or whatever is the case. They love that shit if they can. So I hopefully they do it.
No point in waiting.
No, did y'all see Norman Powell's fish?
No. Oh, that's a huge
Holy
fish.
crap.
Shit.
That's like his size
Damn.
of him.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he just won the fisherman competition in the
That's-
bubble. It looks like that's like straight up
not
like
a
deep sea
euphemism.
swordfish. That's like Jaws shit.
Yeah.
Like I'm out in the boat for like 7 days and like I go kind of crazy and drink a ton of whiskey and catch this thing on the last day.
They
So,
only put
shout out
like
Norman Powell.
They only put like one of those huge fish in those lakes at Disney. They have to. Like,
Yeah, probably.
they can't survive.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Zach, are we part of the Dash Radio network? Are we on Nothing But Net channel, or are we mentioning?
Yep. So you can listen to us. We've got what? Yeah, you can listen to us on Dash Radio's Nothing But Net channel, and you can also find us at Backdoor Cut Show on Twitter, and search us Backdoor Cut Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And we appreciate you listening to us. We'll be back again next week. We'll be that much closer to actual games being played, and we'll probably do some previews of those games. And going forward, we'll be very busy the next few months, so very excited about that. Anything else, guys?
Yeah, we'll have fucking basketball to talk about on the next episode. We'll
Hell
be
yeah.
talking about the Sixers and
Competitive
Rockets
basketball.
scrimmages.
Yeah.
We probably won't preview the regular season. We're going to be talking about scrimmages.
Yeah, it's exciting, man. I can't wait. So y'all work from home, air quotes around that, and make sure you get your shit done so you can tune in for the game. It'll be streaming on Grizzlies.com, actually, not on a normal channel. So figure that out. Get your shit set up on your Apple TV or whatever, and let's ride.
Peace.
Yes, sir.
See ya.